Hello, welcome to Radiant Resilience. Uh, One of the things I get asked for the most when I'm asking for requests on what to work on in my live classes, both in person and online, are neck, shoulders, low back, and hips. Without fail, those are always the ones that get brought up. And so today I'm going to take you through a short sequence that is really good for the low back and the hips. I'll provide a link at the end of this video for a neck and shoulder video too. So if you want, you can combine the two to get to cover all four spots. All right, so as we're getting ready, you may want a towel that you can fold up for just a little height. So you want the softness of the towel and you don't want it to be too thick. Now you may decide when we're doing this, some of the movements on the towel that doesn't feel good, and of course you'll come off of it and just do everything on the floor. The other thing that you could possibly want to use is a belt or strap. Again, optional, but it might just make some of the things that we're going to do a little bit easier or a little more comfortable for you. Okay, as always, you're going to keep yourself safe, skip or modify anything that you know just isn't working for you today. Okay, so we're going to get started. Go ahead and come down to the floor. And first, we're just going to work into constructive rest pose, which is you're on your back, your feet are on the floor, knees are bent, and your arms are comfortably away from your sides, palms facing up. Now, depending on your shoulders, you might need to adjust the height of the arms so that you're finding a height that allows you to relax your shoulders towards the floor. The knees can be apart, or you can let your knees drop in on themselves so they're kind of propping each other up, and then you're not using muscle engagement to hold your legs up. But if that doesn't feel good, find what feels right for you. And then we're going to take two big sighs. On your first sigh, let your low back and your belly relax. So you're not pressing down, you're just relaxing. And then the same thing, shoulders release towards the floor. Oftentimes our shoulders are up and we're not even aware of it. So as you sigh, let your shoulders drop down. And then lengthen out the back of your neck. While we're here, we're just going to focus on slowing our breath down, maybe bringing it into a little deeper place, and tuning into what we're feeling in our body, your back, and your hips specifically. And if you're having any sort of aching or pain or anything like that, hopefully by the end of this sequence, you'll have a little bit of easing up of that. But as we move through things, you're not going through anything that feels painful. The idea is to move through a range of motion that you can move through without pain, because if we continue to push up against that pain response, then we are just creating that neuromuscular pathway and that signaling system. We're strengthening it. We're strengthening that pain response. And we're also causing muscle contraction to guard around that pain. So I want you to move through your range of motion that doesn't feel painful, because we're trying to tell our brain, our nervous system, our body that it's safe to move. It's safe to do these movements. And if we push into that pain thing, then we're giving it the opposite signal. So less is more sometimes, and that's okay. So now that we've kind of established that, see where things are feeling, how things are feeling in specifically the low back and the hips. And then we're going to move into a very tiny hip twist. So instead of moving your knees side to side, I want you to move one. So let's say the leg closest to you, I'm pushing that foot gently into the floor to move the knee forward towards the foot edge of my mat. And that hip will automatically roll up off the floor a little bit. And then you're going to relax. The relax is just as important as the movement is. So now we're going to go to the other side. Let that one knee go forward. The foot just very gently pushes into the floor to facilitate that movement of the knee. The hip lifts a little bit, and then you're going to relax. And then switch and relax. So I have one side that has a little bit of talking happening when I go into it. So I'm going to go, this is the side, I'm going to make that side a little softer, a little less pushing into it. So I'm not going into it quite as far. So I'm not going into that pain response. So it does require something called interoception, which is noticing what's going on within your body. All right, now come back to center and sigh. From there, you're going to take one foot and heel toe it out to a wider spot. And you're just going to keep it there. What we're doing is making room for the other leg to move. And then you're going to move the knee in and move the knee out and move it in and move it out. So as you're doing this, same thing. We're going slow enough so that you're not using momentum, which when we use momentum, sometimes we end up pushing past what our safe range is. So you're just going slow enough so that that's not happening. And we're working into our internal and external rotation of this hip. All right, and then bring that leg up or knee up, heel toe the foot that you went wide with, and heel toe the other foot out wide. Now the more narrow leg is going to do the moving, knee in and out. And you're just going to go side to side here, really noticing what you're feeling, what the sensations are. And it's okay to feel a stretch or some fatiguing of muscles because you're working something you're not used to working. Nothing sharp though. Okay. And then bring that knee up and bring both feet in. From there, arms are going to come out to a T position. Breathe in, and as you exhale, let one knee open and then the other knee follows, coming into a little twist, and your head is going to look opposite where your knees are. And then the knee that followed is going to lead now. It's going to open as wide as it can go, and when it can't go any wider, it's going to pull the other knee with it until you twist to the other side and your head turns opposite the knees again. So the one leg leads, pulls the other leg with it. So as we're moving through these easy twists, we are still engaging that internal and external rotation of the hips. Okay, now come center and just go side to side the way you would think of going through your windshield wiper twist. And then stop on one side and take a sigh. And release and go through the other side and sigh again. And release. Come center, take a breath in, and as you exhale, bring the knees into your chest. And you can either rock side to side here, or you might choose to do circles with your knees going in the same direction. If you are doing circles, go the opposite way now. And then come center. Open knees apart, circle them around, and bring them back together. So now we're moving through our hips all the way around. Go the other direction. As your knees come in, you're going to bring the soles of the feet together, open the knees wide, slide hands down towards your feet, and then you might give the feet a little pull towards your face. What sometimes happens is as you pull the feet in, you'll feel your tailbone lift. So try to keep the tailbone flat on the floor. And you can stay in this butterfly position or separate your feet to come into a happy baby position. Center or rock as you breathe. And then center again, take a breath in and out. Release, knees come in, hands come to the backs of your thighs, flex your feet, inhale. As you exhale, reach legs up, inhale, bend, exhale, lengthen, and bend. So hamstrings, you don't want to overstretch them, but you want them to be supple and stretchy, elastic, because when they're really tight, they'll pull your sits bones down, which will flatten out your low back, which brings uneven pressure into the discs. So when the hamstrings are really tight, it almost causes almost a little pelvis tuck under. Okay, the next time you lengthen out your legs, so that's why we're working on our hamstrings here, go ahead and point and flex your feet. And our spine's nice and supported in this position. You can always have a little bend in your knees if you're a little tighter in the backs of the legs. And then rotate your ankles. Rotate the other direction. Good. Flex your feet, spread them out, spread out the toes. All right. And then from there, you're going to set your left foot on the floor and cross your right thigh all the way over your left thigh. Bring the knees up towards your chest. You can hold on to knees, or you can slide your hands down towards your feet. If you're able to do that, you could even give your feet a little pull towards your shoulders. Now, right now, I kind of have my knees as close to my chest as I can, and this feels good, and it feels one way in my body. The other thing you can explore here is maybe moving your knees further away from your chest and see what that does to what you're feeling in your low back and hips. For me, this feels really good to just shift my knees away from my torso. Changes the stretch, gets into a slightly different spot in the hips. Okay, and then release. As you release, set the left foot on the floor, bring your right ankle to your left thigh, flex your right foot and press your right thigh open. And when you're pressing, press up by your hip crease so that you're opening up your hip flexor area, that little area at the crease of the hip. It can get kind of tight, and that's also where the lymphatics flow from your legs up. So it's good to have that nice and open. All right, as you release that press, bring your left knee up towards your chest. So if you can't reach around your left thigh, bring a strap around that thigh. If that's still too much, you can keep your bottom foot on the floor, or you could set it on a block or a book or something. I should have told you to have a block for that, but I forgot. So once you decide, foot on the floor, foot on a block, or knee up, then you're going to go side to side with the legs. And then find your stopping place. You'll notice as the legs go left, you get more intensity in your right leg, glute, hip area. So find the right intensity for you and breathe right there. All right, and then we'll let that side go, and we'll cross the left thigh all the way over right thigh, knees to the chest. Maybe slide your hands down towards your ankles or your feet, and maybe give them a little pull towards your shoulders. And after a breath or two right here, you might experiment with moving your knees to a different spot. I'm going to move my knees away from my chest and see what that does to the feeling of this pose. And we're going slow so that we're able to really feel what's happening in our body, and we're able to relax into each position. So as we release, set your right foot on the floor, left ankle to your right thigh, flex your left foot, that stabilizes the knee, and then press the left thigh open up by your hip crease. opening up the front of the hip flexor area, and that lymphatic pathway. Release that press. Figure 4 pose on this side. Remember, foot can be on the floor, it could be up on a block, or knee up, hands are strapped behind the right thigh. And then go side to side with your legs. This time you'll notice going right gives you more intensity on your left side. So after rocking, find the stopping place and breathe right there. Good. And then go ahead and release. Now this is where you might want to have your towel close by, but we're going to bring the right knee into, the left knee into your chest. Right foot is going to be on the floor. And then we're going to come into some tiny cat-cows with our hips. So on your inhale, you're going to arch the low back up off the floor. Tailbone is pushing down. On the exhale, flatten the back and a little engagement of your core to curl the tailbone just a tiny bit towards the ceiling. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flatten. And arch and flatten. Okay, so that's the movement. What you could try is bringing your towel underneath your hips, going widthwise across the hips, and that just gives you a little more play for your cat-cows. Right? And once you get there, you might have to adjust up or down a little bit on the hips. But you don't want to have it so high that it's in your lumbar curve, your low back curve. You still want it on that flat, bony part of the hips. All right, and then you're going to continue with those little mini hip tilts, cat-cows here. Now, if you've got your towel set up and as you're doing this, it doesn't feel right, by all means, move the towel out from underneath you and continue. Now, as you're doing this, the other thing you can try is to lengthen out your other leg and still do your hip tilts. And just see how that's feeling. Good. And then we're going to come to neutral. Hold right here. And your other leg can be long or foot on the floor with a bent knee. Now, gently move the knee a little out to the left. And bring it back in. Interlace your hands behind the back of your left thigh. Lengthen the arms out so that your knee moves away from your chest as far as your arms will allow. And your shin is going to be up at a tabletop. And then deep breath in, and as you exhale, push the back of your thigh into your hands really strongly so you're feeling resistance happening there. Steady pressure, but keep breathing. Now keep the leg where it is, but relax it. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, give the knee another hug and sigh. Beautiful. And then set that foot down. Bring the other foot to the floor. Slide your towel out from underneath you if you were on a towel. Hips come down to the floor. Take a big sigh. And just notice the left hip versus right hip and how things are feeling. And now we're going to go to the other side. So right knee comes to the chest. We're going to start without the towel, just so you can see how that feels. Inhale, little tilt or a little arch. Exhale, flatten down. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flatten. And again, check in. If you're feeling any pain, smaller tilts of the hips. Okay, now, if you know the towel isn't going to work for you, you're going to skip the towel. If you feel like it might be helpful, bring it underneath your hips. And then we'll bring the right knee back up to your chest. Go into your hip tilts. I have to adjust again. Go into your hip tilts. See how that's feeling. Now, one thing I forgot to mention on the other side is as you're curling the tailbone up, the tendency is to want to use the leg with your foot pressing into the floor. So instead of using your leg to cause that tilt, let the leg be relaxed, foot light on the floor, and the tilt is happening from your core engagement instead. Okay, now some of you might feel that it's okay to lengthen out the left leg. If that doesn't feel good, you're not going to do it. And we'll just do a few more here. All right, and then relax. Now slide your hands to the back of your right thigh. Lengthen out your arms so your knee moves away from your chest. Shin comes up to your tabletop position. Inhale. As you exhale, push the back of your thigh into your hands and hold that steady pressure as you breathe. Now keep the leg where it is, but relax it. Deep breath in. Exhale. Hug the knee in. And then move the knee a little out to the right. And bring it back in and sigh. And now, if you did lengthen out the left leg, slide that foot to the floor. Bring the other foot to the floor. Hips lift enough to move your towel out from under you if you were using that. Bring your hips down, back to your constructive rest pose the way we started. Sigh. Good. All right, so we've worked into our low back a little bit. We've worked into the hip glute area, and we also worked into our hamstrings. The next thing we're going to do is work into the front of the thigh hip flexors. We did that just a little bit if you lengthened out the leg while you were hugging your knee, but now we're going to come into it a little bit more. So you're going to come onto your side. And make sure your head is supported in a way that's comfortable for you. And this is where you might want to use a strap or not. Let's just see. Knee into the chest, top knee into the chest. Slide your hand down towards your ankle and then bring your leg back. So if you cannot comfortably hold on to your foot or your ankle, you're going to bring a strap around the ankle and hold on to the strap instead. So I want you to feel comfortable either way, with or without a strap. And then once you have that set up, we're going to move that leg forward and back. So we're sort of flossing our quads, our hip flexors, and we're also flossing something that's called the femoral nerve that runs, we think of sciatica going, the sciatic nerve going kind of down the back. This one goes down the front. And when things are really compressed in your hip flexor area, sometimes that can feel kind of pinched. Okay, now if you'd like, we're going to add some head movements with our flossing motion. So you're going to bring your knee forward and bring your head forward, and then bring the head and knee back. Now, if you don't like that head movement with the leg, skip it. You can still move the leg forward and back without doing the head. All right. Now, the next time you bring the leg back, we're going to hold it. If you turned your head back, pause there for just a moment, and then bring your head to neutral. Everybody take a big breath and sigh it out. And then release, give your knee a hug, and rock onto your back and rock side to side. Okay, so we're going to do the other side. You can either just roll over or you can flip over like me. I just don't want to have my back to you while we're doing this. And then top knee to the chest. Slide your hand down or a strap, and then we'll start to floss this leg. So we'll just start with the leg initially, and then you might decide to add those head movements. knee and forehead come towards each other, and then both move back. Make sure this feels comfortable for you. And when you're going into that more stretched position with that leg more back, make sure that you're feeling it in your thigh, not the knee. Okay, the next time you bring the leg back, maybe looking back, hold there for a breath. You can always adjust where your leg is to make sure you're not feeling it in the knee. And then bring your head to neutral. And then knee to the chest. Rock onto your back. Yes. And rock side to side. All right. And then bring one knee to the chest. Other foot comes to the floor or slides long and take a sigh. Bring that knee in. Switch your hands to the other leg. Other foot to the floor or long and sigh here. And then both legs go long on the floor. Arms stretch up over your head. Big inhale. Exhale, relax. And one more time. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, relax. Slide the arms down. Now keep your legs long and they're going to be loose. So you're just going to flap your feet in and out. And everything's really loose. So you'll feel movement in your ankles, up into your knee, all the way up into your hip joints. And just move real loose here. And then relax the legs. Now you're going to plant your heels. So the heels aren't going to move. So that's where a mat is helpful. It helps you plant your heels. And now loosely flap the feet up and down. And when you're doing that, you'll create this pulsing movement in the body. And just try to relax with that pulsing as much as you can. And then relax your legs and sigh. Good. From there, slide your feet back to constructive rest pose. One more sigh right here. And then just check in. How are things feeling now compared to how they felt at the beginning? My hope is that they're feeling there's a little more ease, a little more comfort within your body. Knees into the chest. Rock a few times side to side. Roll to your side and press your way up. Okay, so that was a simple sequence specifically focused on helping anything that you have going on within your hips and your low back. Let me know if you found it helpful. You can hit the like button or send me a comment. Also, let me know if there are things you'd like me to focus on in future videos. I am going to put a link for a neck and shoulder video up in the corner here that you can access. And also make sure you subscribe if you want to be notified of new videos when I post them. Thanks for spending some time with me. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I really appreciate you. Bye.